The night was cold. The wind howled through the dark streets of Old District 9. Most people were inside their warm homes. But one man, Jason, walked alone. He had just locked his warehouse for the night and was heading home. Jason was a trader. Not rich, but honest. He worked with machines, spare parts, and sometimes small alien tech. He didn't like trouble. He liked silence. But that night, he heard a sound, a soft whimper. He stopped. The sound came from the alley next to his warehouse. At first he thought it was a stray animal, but then he saw movement. Something was there. No, someone. Jason slowly stepped closer. Under a broken streetlight he saw a figure, a woman. She looked thin and tired. Her clothes were torn, her body shaking. Beside her stood two small figures holding her hands. Children. Alien children. Jason's heart pounded. "Hey," he said gently, not wanting to scare them. "Are you all right?" The woman looked up. Her eyes were big, shining in the dark. Her skin was pale blue, marked with soft, glowing lines. She was clearly not human. But her eyes, they were full of pain. "Please," she whispered. Her voice was weak. "They're hungry and cold. I have nothing left." Jason glanced around. No one was watching. "Come with me," he said. She didn't move. Then she said something that made his blood freeze. "Adopt them, please, human. Adopt my children. End my loneliness." Jason blinked. "What?" The woman dropped to her knees. The children didn't cry. They just looked at him with tired, empty eyes. "I can't take care of them anymore," the woman said. "I have no home, no food, no strength, but you are kind. Please, take them." Jason didn't know what to say. This was not normal. This was not something that happened in real life. He looked down at the children again. One was a little girl with long, dark hair and glowing purple skin. The other, a boy, had soft white hair and deep green eyes. Both looked no older than 5. He sighed. "Come inside," he said. He led them into his warehouse. It was warm inside, with a small heater near his office. He gave them blankets, food packets, and water. The children ate quietly as if afraid to speak. The woman sat in a corner staring at the wall. "What's your name?" Jason asked. "Lyra," she whispered. "From the planet Velmari." Jason nodded. "Why are you here?" She shook her head. "There's no place left for us. My world was attacked. My people are scattered. I escaped with the children." "Are they yours, he asked. Lyra hesitated, then slowly nodded. "Yes, they are mine now." That answer felt strange to Jason, but he didn't push. They were safe now. For one night. Jason gave them a room near the back, with some old cushions and blankets. The children curled up together and slept. Lyra sat beside them, still awake. Jason watched her for a moment. She was beautiful in a strange, alien way. But more than that, she looked broken, like a mother who had cried too many times and had nothing left. He turned off the lights and returned to his office. But sleep didn't come. Why had she asked him to adopt them? Why not just ask for help? And why did she say, "End my loneliness"? It didn't feel like a simple request. It felt like a goodbye. The next morning, Jason woke up early. He checked on them. The children were still asleep. Lyra stood near the door as if ready to leave. "I'll find work," she said. "But I can't keep them safe anymore. I need you to protect them." Jason frowned. "That's not a small thing to ask." "I know," Lyra said, "but I have no other choice." Jason sighed and looked at the kids again. He didn't know why, but something deep inside told him he had just stepped into something far bigger than he could imagine. And it all started with a whisper in the alley. Jason thought they would leave the next morning. Maybe she just needed one warm night. one meal, and she'd be gone. But when he opened the door to the back room, Lyra wasn't standing by it anymore. She was kneeling on the floor. Her hands were placed over her chest, and tears silently fell from her eyes. The children were still asleep, curled together like kittens. Lyra didn't notice Jason at first. She was whispering something in a strange alien language. When she finally looked up, her face was different from the night before. Still tired. Still weak. But something else now lived in her eyes. Guilt. "I wasn't always like this," she said softly. Jason walked closer. "Like what?" "Afraid, helpless, homeless." She lowered her eyes. "I used to be proud. My people respected me. I had a name that meant something." Jason sat down across from her. He didn't say anything. Sometimes silence lets truth come out. "My name is Lyra Vel. I was a bond captain on Velmari. That means I protected small ships and families across the trade routes. I wore armor. I had a crew." Her voice broke for a second. But war came. The sky burned. Jason stayed quiet. His eyes were fixed on her, his thoughts racing. They destroyed everything. My ship, my crew, my world. I tried to help. But in the end, I was just one life, and the sky didn't care. She touched her arm, where a glowing tattoo shimmered faintly. "This used to be a symbol of honor," she whispered. "Now it means nothing. I couldn't save anyone." Jason finally spoke. "But you saved them." He looked at the kids. Lyra smiled. "Just a little. I found them in the ashes. They weren't mine, not by blood. But they clung to me, and I didn't have the heart to leave them behind." Jason stared at the children. "They don't talk," he said. "They haven't spoken since that day," she replied. "I don't know if they forgot how or if the pain is just too deep." Jason leaned forward. "What happened to their real family?" Lyra hesitated, then shook her head. "Gone. I don't know how." I stopped asking. Jason could feel the weight in her words. This wasn't a story from a book. This was her life, torn apart and stitched back together with whatever she could find. "What do they call you?" he asked. "They don't," she said. "But once, one of them called me Amara. It means mother who stays." Jason swallowed hard. There was something in those words that hit deeper than he expected. "Why? Did you ask me to adopt them?" he asked. "Why not a shelter? Or a refugee station?" Lyra shook her head. "No one wants broken children. Not like them. Not ones that don't speak. Not ones with powers inside they can't control yet." Jason raised an eyebrow. "Powers?" She didn't explain, but her silence told him it was true. Jason looked toward the sleeping kids. One of them had a faint glow in their skin. It pulsed slowly like a heartbeat. "They're not dangerous," Lyra said quickly. "They're scared, that's all. But the wrong people. They would use them." Jason leaned back. "So you came to me?" She nodded. "I didn't know where else to go. I walked for days. I saw you giving food to that old alien near the station. You didn't judge him, you didn't look away. You helped. So, I took a chance." Jason remembered that moment. He hadn't thought it meant anything. Just an act of kindness. Now it had brought all this to his door. Lyra stood up. She looked tired again, like the strength she used to tell. Her story was all gone now. "I won't stay long, just give me time to find a place to go. I'll leave them with you, they'll be safer." Jason frowned. "You just leave them?" Lyra didn't look at him. "If it means they'll live, yes." That answer shook him. Outside, the wind picked up. A storm was coming. Inside, Jason looked at the woman who had lost everything, but still chose to protect what wasn't even hers. He didn't know what he was going to do, but he knew this. Lyra wasn't weak. She wasn't a beggar. She was a warrior, with a broken sword and a full heart. And the children? They were more than they seemed. Jason had always thought children were loud, Messy, curious. But these two? They were silent. Too silent. Days passed since he let Lyra and her children stay in the small back room of his warehouse. Jason brought them food, clothes, and warm blankets. The kids never asked for anything. They never played. They never smiled. They moved like shadows, always close to each other, always watching. Something wasn't right. One night, Jason stayed late at the warehouse, pretending to fix an old power coil. But really, he was waiting. Waiting to see what happened when they thought he wasn't looking. At 2 a.m., he heard a noise. Soft footsteps. He peeked through the half-open door. The little boy, barefoot, was walking slowly toward the side window. His glowing green eyes were wide open, but they looked empty. The girl followed close behind, holding something in her hand. It shimmered like glass, but wasn't. Jason held his breath. The boy touched the window. A blue circle of light appeared around his fingers. The glass didn't crack, but it melted. Not like fire, like it was being undone. Like it never existed. Jason stepped back, heart pounding. These kids weren't normal. He opened the door quickly. "Hey!" The kids jumped. The light vanished. The boy's eyes glowed once, then dimmed. They didn't run. They didn't speak. They just stood there, staring at him. "What were you doing?" Jason asked gently. No answer. The girl hid the glass object behind her back. Jason kneeled. "I'm not angry. I just want to understand." Still no answer. Then slowly, the girl stepped forward. Her lips parted slightly, as if to say something. But no sound came out. Lyra rushed in. "What's going on?" Jason looked at her. They were trying to leave. Lyra's face went pale. "Not again." "What do you mean?" he asked. She took a deep breath and walked to the children. When they're scared, they go silent. And sometimes they try to run, they don't know who to trust. Jason looked at the melted window frame. That's not just fear. That's power. Lyra knelt beside the kids. Yes, but they don't know how to control it. It happens when they dream, or panic, or feel lost. Jason whispered, "What are they?" Lyra looked up, her voice shaking. "They were made." He stared. "Made? In a lab," she said. "By a weapon program on my world. Velmari scientists tried to build perfect survivors. Not soldiers, but orphans with no past. They could adapt to any world, heal fast, sense danger. But they weren't meant to live normal lives." Jason stared at the children. "How did they escape?" "I don't know," Lyra said. "I found them in the ruins after the war. They were locked in a pod, no records, no names, just alive." Jason sat down hard. His mind was spinning. "They're not evil," Lyra said. "They feel pain, they cry. They just don't know how to be children." Jason didn't speak, for a while. He just looked at them. The boy was looking at the stars through the broken window. The girl still clutched that strange crystal. But now Jason noticed. It wasn't a weapon. It was a small music device, old, broken, maybe from their past. "I can fix that," Jason said softly, pointing to the music piece. The girl blinked. He smiled. "I'm good with tech. I can fix anything, even strange alien stuff." The girl stepped forward slowly. She handed it to him. Jason took it carefully. "What's your name?" No answer. But then, the boy looked at him and said in a small, broken voice, "We don't have names." Jason's chest tightened. "Then we'll find names for you," he said gently. That night, Jason didn't sleep. He sat in his office looking at the strange little device in the broken window. These children were made to survive war, but they didn't need a commander. They needed a father. And maybe, just maybe, Jason could try. But he also knew this. If others found out what these kids could do, they wouldn't be safe. Not even for one more day. Rain fell hard that morning. The city skies were gray, and thunder rolled in the distance. Inside the warehouse, Jason was making warm tea, watching the storm from the cracked window. Lyra sat near the heater, wrapping the children in dry blankets. For the first time, the little girl smiled. A small one, barely there, but it warmed the room more than the heater. Jason almost smiled back, until someone banged on the front door. Boom, boom, boom. 3 knocks. Heavy, cold, government style. Jason froze. Lyra's smile vanished. She stood instantly, eyes wide with fear. The door slammed again. Open immediately. This is Earth Security Division 7. Jason looked at Lyra. How? He whispered. They found us, she said. Jason moved fast. Get in the back room. Hide. Lyra didn't argue. She grabbed the children and disappeared into the shadows. Jason opened the door slowly. 2 agents stood outside in black armor. Their faces were covered with dark visors. Behind them, a silver hover vehicle hummed low and quiet. The agents pushed past him without asking. Jason Miller, one said. This property has been flagged for illegal alien harboring. You are to be searched. Jason stayed calm. I'm just a mechanic. I fix things. You're welcome to look around. They already were. The taller agent scanned the room. His visor beeped. Heat signatures, 3. Small. Back wall. Jason stepped forward. Those are old welding bots. Step aside, the second agent ordered. Jason blocked him. They're broken. You can't take junk metal and call it aliens. The agent pulled out a baton. You're interfering with federal inspection. Jason clenched his fists. You're scaring my dog. He's aggressive when strangers walk in. Both agents paused. Jason had no dog, but it gave Lyra a few more seconds. A soft clang came from the back room. The agents reacted fast. Weapons ready! Before Jason could stop them, they stormed past him and kicked open the back door. The children were gone. The room was empty. The taller agent turned to Jason, furious. Where are they? Jason shrugged. You said I was hiding aliens. I said I wasn't. Looks like we're both wrong. The agent searched the warehouse for 20 more minutes. They flipped crates, opened panels, even scanned his workbench, but they found nothing. Finally, they left, but not before giving a warning. You have 24 hours to report anything suspicious. If not, we come back with drones. As the hovercar vanished into the storm, Jason locked the door and rushed to the back wall. He pulled off a metal panel near the floor. Lyra crawled out with the children. Jason let out a breath. You built that tunnel fast. She nodded. I had help. Long ago. Safe tunnels don't last forever, but they can hide you for a while. Jason looked at her. They called you illegal. Do you know what that means? Lyra's face was calm, but her voice was heavy. It means they're scared, not of me, of what the children might become. Why? He asked. She sat down slowly. Because no one controls them, and people fear what they don't own. Jason shook his head. You said you didn't steal them. I didn't, she said, but someone wants them back. Someone powerful. He looked at the kids. The boy held Lyra's hand. The girl hid behind her. They'll come again, Jason said. Lyra nodded. Then we run, he said. She blinked. You do that? For us? Jason sighed. I don't. But I move, quietly. I know how to disappear. Lyra gave him a long look. You're not what I expected. I get that a lot, Jason said. Outside, the storm grew louder. Thunder roared. The city lights flickered. But inside the warehouse, a promise had been made. The world didn't want them. But Jason did. Not because he had to. Because it was right. 2. Warehouse didn't feel like a home anymore. Not after the knock on the door. Not after the agents stormed in. Not after Jason looked into the eyes of 2 frightened alien children and realized he couldn't protect them here. That night, Jason sat alone at his workbench staring at a faded picture of his parents. They were simple people, farmers who believed in kindness, not rules. They taught him something he never forgot. Right and easy are not always the same. Now he understood what that meant. In the back room, Lyra held the children close. They hadn't spoken since the government visit. The girl's fingers trembled. The boy kept staring at the ceiling, like he expected it to fall in on them. Jason finally stood and walked over. "We can't stay," he said. Lyra didn't argue. She just looked up with tired eyes. "Then where?" Jason had no idea. "I know someone. He helps people disappear." Lyra tensed. "Disappear?" "Not like that," Jason said. "He moves families, makes new names, new papers, safe houses, old tech, nothing digital, no traces." Lyra slowly nodded. The boy finally whispered, "Will we be safe?" Jason looked him in the eyes. "Not yet, but soon." By morning, Jason had a plan. He packed a bag with parts, food packs, blankets, and cash. He hid the children inside a large cargo crate with breathing vents. Lyra rode beside it in the back of a rusty delivery truck he borrowed from an old friend. Jason drove. No ID, no tracker, no comms, only back roads and memory. The city faded behind them. Factories turned to fields. Towers gave way to windmills and broken roads. They were heading to Zone Black, a forgotten industrial sector full of scrap, secrets, and silence. Jason knew who to find. Uncle Farron. He wasn't Jason's real uncle, but he was one of the last men alive who remembered the war and still trusted humans more than rules. They reached the scrapyard by nightfall. A huge metal gate opened slowly, squealing like it hadn't moved in years. Inside stood an old alien man with oil-stained skin, long tusks, and a half-metal face. "You brought trouble," Farron growled. Jason smiled. "The usual kind." Farron looked at the crate. "How many?" "3. Farron sighed. "Come inside." The safe house wasn't big, but it was warm. The floor creaked and the walls were patched with old Starship parts. But it was quiet, safe. Jason explained everything. Farron listened. When Jason finished, Farron didn't speak for a while. Then he leaned forward and asked, "You sure you want this?" "I didn't ask for it," Jason said. "But I'm not walking away." Farron looked at Lyra. "And you?" She met his gaze. "I only care about the children." Farron rubbed his chin. "Then you need to leave tomorrow. They'll track your truck. Your name's already flagged." "I can't leave Earth," Jason said. "Who said anything about leaving Earth?" Farron replied with a grin. "You're going underground." Jason blinked. "You mean the forgotten tunnels?" Farron nodded. "Old war bunkers, hidden communities, rebels, runaways, even families like yours." Jason looked at the children. They were asleep now, finally resting, for real. "Then take us there," he said. Farron stood. "You'll need new names." Jason laughed softly. "How about Dad?" Farron's eyes softened. "That's a strong name." But just as peace settled in, a sharp knock echoed through the yard. Farron turned to Jason. "Did you tell anyone else?" Jason's blood ran cold. "No." Farron moved fast. He grabbed a blaster from under the floor. "Hide them. Now." Jason rushed to Lyra and whispered, "Don't make a sound, no matter what." He lifted the floor panel. Beneath it, a tunnel. Cold. Dark. Perfect. Lyra climbed in with the children. Jason dropped the cover just as Farron opened the gate. 3 men walked in. They weren't government, but worse. Hunters, illegal trackers, paid to capture or kill aliens with bounties. No rules. "No mercy. We're looking for a Velmarin woman and 2 kids," one of them said. "Word is they passed through here." Jason stepped forward. "Wrong place. Wrong man." The hunter stared at him. "You sure about that?" Jason nodded. "Very." One of the men looked around. "Nice setup, too nice for junk. You hiding someone?" Farron coughed loudly. "The only thing hiding here is your dignity. Now get out before I scrap your boots." The men didn't push it. But as they left, one looked back and said, If we find out you're lying, we come back, with fire. They vanished into the night. Farron closed the gate, slowly, carefully. You better run fast, boy, he said. You just bought a war. Jason didn't flinch. He looked down at the hidden floor. No, he whispered. I just found something worth fighting for. Farron's truck rattled as it rolled through the hidden tunnel. The lights were dim. The air smelled like rust and old smoke. But it was safe. For now. Jason sat in the back with Lyra and the children. The girl was curled against his side, finally, trusting him. The boy was quiet, staring into the dark, eyes faintly glowing. Lyra hadn't said a word since they escaped the hunters. Something was wrong. Jason leaned close. You're shaking. I'm fine, she whispered. But she wasn't. Her skin had started to flicker, tiny pulses of silver light running across her arms and neck, like fireflies under her skin. Jason had seen this before, once in a stolen military video, back during the war. He turned to her slowly. Lyra, what are you? She looked away. I trusted you, Jason said. But I need to know the truth, before we risk our lives for something we don't understand. Lyra took a long breath. I told you the children were made. But I didn't tell you I was made too. Jason froze. You're not a mother? He asked. I am, she said quickly. Not by birth, but by choice. That's more real than blood. Jason shook his head, trying to understand. So, who made you? Lyra closed her eyes. I was part of Project Amara, the same one that created the children. Jason's stomach twisted. I wasn't a captain. I wasn't born on Velmari. That was a cover story. I was the first prototype, a caretaker model, designed to raise bioengineered orphans, train them, bond with them, programmed to love. Jason stood up. You're not real. I'm more than real, she said firmly. I broke my programming. I chose to protect them. I escaped the labs. I built a life. I cried. I bled. I starved beside them. She touched the girl's cheek gently. I learned fear when I almost lost her. I learned pain when I saw the boy try to tear his own skin after a nightmare. And I learned love when they called me Amara. Jason sat down slowly. His head spun. You could have left them, he said. I tried, she whispered. Dozens of times, but every time I turned my back, I felt empty. She looked him in the eyes. I'm not their creator. I'm their mother. That's who I am now. Jason didn't answer. The truck stopped. Farron opened the back door. We're here. They had arrived at the Low Grounds, a secret underground community built after the war. Hidden beneath layers of junkyards, it was a haven for those who had nowhere else to go. Jason helped the children out first. Lyra followed. The streets here were narrow and full of life. Refugees, outcasts, machines. And among them, no one asked questions. No one cared what you were. Jason and Lyra were led to a small shelter. Inside, an old alien healer waited. She looked at Lyra with wide eyes. You brought her here? The healer asked Jason. You know her? He asked. She's not just Project Amara, the healer whispered. She was the last Guardian unit. They thought she died 5 years ago. Jason looked at Lyra. You faked your death? He asked. I burned the lab, she said. And I ran with the children. The healer nodded slowly. Then the stories are true. One of them survived with her children. They're not weapons, Lyra said. They're children. Let them grow without chains. The healer placed her hand on Lyra's shoulder. Then you did something no machine was ever meant to do. Lyra's voice cracked. What? You became real. That night, Jason stood on the rooftop of their new shelter. The sky above was dark, but the stars peeked through cracks in the steel ceiling. Lyra joined him. I lied, she said softly. I know, Jason said. I'm sorry. Jason shook his head. I don't blame you. She looked surprised. You don't? You chose to protect them. Again and again. That's all that matters now. Lyra looked up at the stars. They're still hunting us. I know. They'll come. I'll be ready, Jason said. Lyra turned to him. Why? He looked back at her and smiled sadly. Because you're no longer just a machine. And they're not just strange kids. You're a family now. And somehow I think I'm part of it. She looked at him, eyes full of light. I'm glad it was you who found us. Jason nodded. Me too. And far away in the deep silence of the galaxy, someone activated a tracker. The final hunt was about to begin. The calm didn't last. 3 days after they reached the underground haven, Jason saw the warning signs. Quiet radios, whispering crowds, lights dimmed early. Something was wrong, and then Farron returned. Bleeding. Burned. The trackers. Found us, he gasped. Jason caught him before he collapsed. How many? Too many, Farron said, wincing. They're not here for the bounty anymore. They want to erase everything, you, the children, and her. Jason looked at Lyra. She already knew. Her face was calm, but her hands trembled. They know what I am, she said. They think if they kill me, the children will break. Jason shook his head. Then we won't let them. That night, Jason made a choice. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't rich. He had no army. But he had tools, wires, traps, and the will to protect what mattered. He turned the shelter into a fortress. He placed sensors in the tunnels. He rewired old machines to guard the doors. He taught the kids how to hide, how to stay quiet, and how to listen for danger. He didn't sleep. Neither did Lyra. They worked side by side, not just as survivors, not just as strangers, but as parents. And then they came. Black ships hovered over the city ruins. Men in dark armor dropped into the tunnels. Laser torches cut through steel, and with them came a message, broadcast on all frequencies: return the prototypes, or everyone dies. Jason stood at the front of the shelter, holding an old blaster and a steel pipe. His voice was calm when he answered, "Come and try." The fight began. Farron, though wounded, fired from the rooftops. Jason's traps exploded in the tunnels, slowing the hunters. Lyra, fast as light, struck from the shadows, her old programming, awakened not to destroy but to defend. But the enemy kept coming. Jason was knocked down. His arm was burned. One hunter reached the room where the children hid. The boy stood in front of his sister. The hunter raised his gun, and the boy's eyes turned white. Everything stopped. Time bent. The lights burst. The hunter's weapon melted. In his hands, the boy didn't scream, but energy rippled from him like a wave. The tunnel cracked, dust flew. Jason could barely stand as the pulse passed over him. When it ended, the hunter was gone. Just ash. Jason stumbled into the room. The boy was on the ground, unconscious. The girl held him, crying softly. Jason dropped to his knees. You saved her, he whispered. The girl looked up, tears glowing on her cheeks. Is he yours now? Jason blinked. What? She held out her small hand. You're our dad, right? Jason's throat closed. He couldn't speak. So he nodded and pulled both children into his arms. The battle ended by morning. The hunters were gone, some dead, some fled. The people of the underground had won, not with power, but with courage. And one human who refused to let go. Later that day, Jason helped carry Farron to the healer. Then he returned to Lyra and the kids. They sat in silence for a long time. Finally, Lyra spoke. We should keep moving. They'll send more. Jason shook his head. No. She looked at him. What do you mean? Jason smiled tiredly. I mean, I'm done running. This place, these people, this family, we're not going anywhere. Lyra frowned. It's not safe. Nothing worth loving is ever safe, Jason said, but it's worth fighting for. He looked at the boy and the girl. They need names, he said. Real ones. The girl pointed to herself. I want to be called Mira. Jason smiled. Beautiful. The boy opened his eyes weakly. And I'm Kai. Jason placed a hand on his head. Strong name. Fits you. Lyra looked at them, emotion flooding her glowing eyes. And me? Jason looked at her for a long time, then said softly, You're home now. Weeks later, the tunnels were quieter. People had started calling Jason the human father. Children came to him for help with broken toys. Aliens offered food. Farron grumbled less. Mira started laughing. Kai began drawing pictures of stars and animals he'd never seen. And Lyra? She smiled more now. She helped rebuild the shelter. She held Jason's hand when no one was looking. One evening, Mira asked, Jason, if we had to run again, would you still come with us? Jason pulled her into his lap and said, No matter where we go, no matter what happens, I'll never leave you. Why? She asked. He kissed the top of her head. Because you're my daughter. And in that quiet, dusty tunnel beneath a broken world, a human, a machine, and 2 orphaned children finally found something no weapon could destroy. A real family.